Welcome to the Love That Guy podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Ronnie Jean Blevins.
And this is Brendan Reynolds.
He got third, all for billing at the end of each picture. That don't really mean much, he would say with a grin. But he held my hand tight when he poured his name out. Only 4 or 5 names down below Errol Flynn.
We are the show that celebrates the journeyman actors, the actors we all know and love, and even though we might not always know their names, we inevitably see them in film and television and think to ourselves, love that guy. Brendo, you doing good, buddy?
Yeah, man. This is an exciting episode. Lots of energy from Clifton. It was great.
Yeah, man. We got Clifton Collins Jr. On the show today, and we're doing this intro. I haven't just talked to him, but he's pretty fantastic guy.
I can't imagine the book he could write on his Hollywood experience.
I know, man.
That guy's living a life.
Yeah, it's just existed in his lineage, you know.
Yeah, it's like pure lore. Like he's just like embodiment of the good things about Hollywood, you know.
The good things about Hollywood. Yeah, I was rapping out with Eric Lang, who we've had on the show, and he said this beautiful like metaphor about how at any given time when you're in your career as an actor, you're on a Ferris wheel, right? Mm-hmm. And eventually it goes round and round and round. You know, sometimes you're at the top, sometimes you're at the bottom. You know, right. Now when you're at the top, the sky's the limit, right? Nobody's looking down. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's just fucking nothing in your way. The sky's the limit. You know, and then eventually you might stay there for a while, but you might have a lull and you slowly go down to the bottom, getting less and less jobs. And then you're at the bottom and then all you can see is everyone above you, you know,
yep.
No one's looking down, you know. And then, you know, eventually you go, sometimes, especially at the Santa Monica Ferris wheel, you stop, you know, and then you're going to go back up. And what always strikes me, and that's why I love having these certain guests, you know, like we had PJ Byrne on, these people that throughout, I felt like throughout their career, they always kind of, they weren't necessarily always looking up. And
right.
Yeah. And
when it probably feels like you're at the bottom longer too, when you're coming up, I bet it feels like it's real quick on top and on the bottom, it feels like forever. But the perseverance that requires is kind of amazing.
But people like, I think we've got a pretty good track record of having guests on this show that they're
on top a lot.
Yeah, they're on top a lot, but they always they're looking down. You know what I mean? They look down and they give support and I feel like we're continuing the tradition with Cliff because he's just a really cool guy, and you know we've had a lot of mutual friends who they've just always spoken so highly of him. So.
He seems like a true artist in every aspect of the word, like just like poetry, music, like everything. He's just like a natural. That's my impression of him too, right? Yeah. And I said that in the interview, just this kind of, you know, a guy who strikes me as who gets off on the work and good friends and good vibes and right.
You know, and is probably having a hell of a good time, you know, and.
Yeah. I can't wait for that Ari Aster movies, and that sounds really intense. Wow.
Yeah, with a guy like that who's done such incredible character work, who's saying that's kind of is deep and as rigorous as it was, and that can't come out soon enough for me.
Oh man, I'm excited. Yeah, it sounds like the part was written for him. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I think like literally written for him. Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
Yeah. So I hope you guys like the interview, man. It's one of our favorites. And please like and subscribe, leave a comment or not. But thanks. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Here's Clifton Collins Jr. Our guest today is an absolute motherfucker of an actor. 3 words come to mind when I reflect on today's guest: pathos, immersion, and scene stiller. With an electrifying on-screen performance and remarkable ability to capture the essence of humanity and all its complexities, he has garnered acclaim and respect from some of the industry's finest directors. I'm talking Soderbergh, J.J. Abrams, Jim Sheridan, Mike Judge, Joel Schumacher, the list goes on. Working with the best is never about luck. If you're working with the best, it means you're among the best. He shattered our hearts in The Last Castle in Tigerland. He terrified us in Traffic and Rules of Attraction, and of course, Capote. His performance in Jockey is a masterclass in subtlety and raw authenticity. Please welcome to the show one of my favorite actors, the extraordinary Clifton Collins Jr.
Thank you, but that was too sweet, man. It made me cry.
It's true, man.
Nice.
Thank you so much, dude. Well, I was talking to our mutual friend Wendy about whether or not like you'd show up. I was like, well, he's a Gemini, man, so he doesn't know if he's going to show up or not.
He's a what? He's a Gemini? No, it's a very strange turn of events. I've been gone for 6 months on 3 projects, which I've never done before. I've juggled 2 before, but not 3, and 3 on this level, like an Ari Aster character, which is astronomical.
Yep.
And then to come home, so to have 3 characters tugging on your psyche and your just your consciousness on a 24/7 basis, because you got 3 dudes to deal with, is a really surreal experience that I've never experienced before. And I'm grateful to have had the experience, because that in of itself is a gift. But man, talk about forgetting yourself. Whew. Yeah. Come home, I've got a shit ton of yard work to do in my entire house. I got to rebuild stuff and waterproof stuff, and I got to do so much stuff to do. I haven't worked on a house in over 6 months. Now it's like I got to relearn all this shit. Thankfully, I'm half Mexican, so it comes back fast. Back fast.
Do you have a kind of that, because that can be a little much? You could go into like the post-production blues. Do you kind of have a re-entry process, or do you just kind of?
That's a very important question. And to be 100 with you, I'm still trying to figure it out. Because this one was so deep of an immersion. I've never gone so bananas deep. Like wow. It was hardcore. Like I literally, I told Ari when we wrapped, but literally 2 days before we wrapped, I was like, God, do I still have my therapist's phone number? So I think I might need them both. So it's so to answer your question, I try to get back into work right away, which is a big mistake. And I've got mutual actor friends around me like, Clifton, that never works for you. You always implode like on day 2. You work on day 1, day 2, like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm a loser. And I just collapse, and I'm just like on the floor.
Yeah.
You know, so this one, I lost so much of myself. It kind of made me ask, who am I?
Who are you without it? Kind of, right? Yeah, that's a good.
I did a mind wipe for 6 months. It was like Ari's character was so demanding, and then juggling the other 2, which weren't as hard, but man, it's never.
That's wild. I gotta tell you, man, that makes me super exciting, because when I think about like this incredibly rich character work that we've seen you do, like when I first became aware of you, I think it was The Last Castle, but maybe Tigerland, but like you did this incredible work, right? And it's this incredible external work, but it's clearly so intertwined to like a lifetime of these characters' trauma. So where do you begin? Do you do you have to go to the lines first and let the scholastic work inform the inner work, or do you have to do like 1,000 things, journal and whatnot, before you even earn the right to say a line? Does that make sense?
They go both ways.
Okay.
It's a case-by-case basis. But in initially auditioning for something like I used to, it would be the character would speak to me like he was speaking like, I want to be your voice. I can accurately do this for you. I can get you what you need. You know what I mean? So the character's got a need in the script. They speak to me. There's certain set pieces or certain arcs or moments that like, they ring so you just feel it. And when you feel it, then you can go into it. You can start to dismantle it because you feel it. So there's a heartbeat in the middle, and you just got to take the onion apart and get to the heartbeat, and then you start rebuilding around it.
Right.
in every case is different. From Capote to Tigerland, I can think of just so many differences. And then I get immersed in the world. If it's a real world, like with Tigerland Vietnam, so I'd have Vietnam books, and I'd find books that speak close to the character's heart. And I get lost in that world, and I listen to the music and reading newspaper articles around that time, and just things so I could riff or I can improvise if I need to, or it just gets me in the vocabulary and what was happening at that time.
Yeah.
And that's fun. It's fun. It's like a time warp. And on some of these films, when you just focus on that period, and you don't watch any outside movies unless they're of that era and period. It's literally, that's where your brain is living. You're not listening to news of today. You're not watching things that are relevant today. So if you cut out everything past, let's say Tigerland ended in 1971. If I cut all the news past that and I just consume that up until shooting day, believe me, when you get to set, that's all you're thinking.
Amazing. Yeah.
Kind of slowly you wipe out. It's like when you don't see a friend for a long time. Like, hey, it's Billy. Like, Billy. Like, yeah, we did it. Like, oh, fuck. We did all this. We could have went to jail. We could have done all kinds of shit. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah.
You stay that. Now I'm struggling with just trying to get my feet back on the ground. And actually, I was supposed to go meet Sam Jackson because he's one of my greatest mentors. And I told Ari this too, as he tried to deprogram and it wasn't working. I said, I already got a call on Sam. So he's coming back from Atlanta, and I'll I said, I need help with one thing. He was like, what? I said, yeah. Can you help me? Fuck yeah, I'll help you go. I said, all right, cool.
So,
I'll be back soon.
So you're calling in the great Sam Jackson to help you shred the character. Man, I get it, dude. I get it. And like going
a bad motherfucker to pull out
literally a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. But it's funny you talk about like all this like digging into the work. That's why I feel like in this kind of modern era, something happened maybe it was with the advent of streaming, or maybe there was a couple of unfortunate incidents, but something happened where productions became super, super secret, right? And I know there's a threshold beyond which, you get on the call sheet where you definitely learn more, but like, I know that, you've done a lot of things that are kind of like cutting edge, super, 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 like for instance, a season 2 of Westworld, although I did season 2 of Westworld. I don't think they're necessarily like that, but they create this nature of like you're only on a need to know basis, right? And it's kind of detrimental to the artist, man, begging for information, because what happens is that the culture of this secrecy is set by the showrunner, the producers, and then you might have a guest director that's wondering, why the fuck does this guy not understand this one very, very simple, obvious thing about his character?
Right.
Now the directors are they were allowed to know a little bit more, so they also knew that we didn't. There's a lot, like you said, need to know the basis. That said, that was the tone that was set, like you said. Also, I think you got like the likes of Jeffrey Wright, Ed Harris, Serena Hopkins. You got these amazing legends, and all of us didn't want to break the rules. Now, sure, somebody could have gone in secrets or like, hey, don't tell anybody. But I think so many of us had so much integrity that it's almost an arrogance, really. Like, I'm not gonna ask you what's going on.
Right.
I'm not gonna ask. I don't need to ask. I'm gonna figure this out. Watch. You know what I mean? It was like I got enough skill or talent, and you just roll the dice. Maybe you fall, maybe you shine.
Yeah.
That's what you get your directors for, or at least Joy or Jonah Nolan. They can say, well, actually, why don't you lean it a little more this way, or a little more that? Yeah. Like, okay, back.
Yeah, for sure. You just kind of like, hey, this is what I'm doing with what I have, and if it's wrong, I'm sure you'll tell me. We actually did a couple of the same episodes in Westworld season 2. Me and Murph play these guys that kind of like were sent, these special ops guys to parachute in and like destroy all the aliens, So I was out there at Page, Utah, and like these beautiful scenes, and it was.
You were in Utah stuff?
Yeah.
That's when I learned to jump my horse.
Wow, really?
Wow. I jumped cactuses. I jumped so many cactuses.
Wow.
That's cool. I was like John Bolton, urban cowboy. I like, woo! It was like up in the air, looking down, like, what the fuck?
Terrifying, dude. What was that?
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So you're trying to look cool because it's Westworld. You're like, fuck you, but it's like, you're like, fuck, I don't want to die. Because I wasn't supposed to jump, and nobody trained me and taught me to do that. So I was like, okay, but I don't know if you noticed, every time they would call for gun training or horse training, I was like, hell yeah, when? Just give me the time, I'll be there. I was like one of the few actors that always showed up. I found out. But I love that. You're going to be trained by some of the best. I mean, who doesn't want to be trained by the best, whether you're doing Westworld or not?
Exactly.
So I did a lot of stuff on the horse. I got really good on them. Tried to buck me a bunch of times to no avail. So when we go to Utah, we were supposed to be going down a straight line. You know, the typical traditional Western, you've got them coming over the sunset, over the horizon, all this beautiful thing. And Jonah realized that at the last minute, but they cleared the pathway for Ed Harris. And who's an avid rider, that motherfucker can ride. I mean, his horse jumped too, in spite of them having cleaned it, because there's still some cactus there somehow. So they go, hey, Clifton, we're going to go long. Why don't you go on the other side of the tree? On the other side of, oh, you mean the side where you threw all of Ed's shit? Like all the cactus, like, yeah, that side. I'm like, okay. I don't even know if they heard me. They're so fucking far away. There's hands like this. And so then there you go. And I'm right when they call action, I've got the 4 or 5 cousins that are the cousins stopping there next to me, and then Ed. And we're loping. As soon as they call action, those horses are loping out the gate, just row, row, row. And then I felt my horse set. So if you've done any kind of boxing or horse, when something sets, something else is coming next. It's not loping. And when I felt that horse set, I was like, oh, fuck. And I saw the cactus there. I just grabbed onto the horn. And he was like, whoa, just touching it. And now you hyperscan because you're in the air. It's like, okay, I'm in the air. I don't want to fall off. I don't plan to fall. If I do, am I going to break fall to the right? Am I going to break fall to the left or forward? I'm looking around. I'm not going to break fall anyway because I'm surrounded by cactus. So I'm just not falling off. But it's like I jumped. One take, I jumped 4 times. Another take 3. I wasn't supposed to be jumping at all. It looks great, but it doesn't.
Nice, dude. Nice. I mean, that's great, dude. You're doing a far sight better than I've. I tell you what, I'm terrified of horses. I did 6 months on a horse. Me and Ben Foster chasing Will Smith and Emancipation, and I almost died a couple times. And I'm pretty sure there's a couple of conversations of how much have we got in the can, and is this guy replaceable?
Oh
man, to going up like because we're in Louisiana, we're going up, dodging trees, and then we rehearse it, and I'm fucking just so nervous. I as many times as much as counterintuitive as I know that it is not to be nervous and all the things you're supposed to do, I just feel this impending doom. But we finally rehearsed it, and one time Ben decided he was going to go right instead of left. And then
didn't tell you?
He just improvised in the moment. So I'm sideways on the horse, and then sideways on the horse, and there's a tree here, and I'm like fucking dead. By the grace of God, I like pulled myself up, and the limbs were hitting my face, dude. Oh. And then Antoine Fuqua, he wasn't like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Motherfucker."
He loved it, huh?
Yeah, yes.
I did Replacement Killers with Antoine. I love Antoine.
Yeah. He's a bad motherfucker.
Was your horse responsive?
My horse saved my life. Yeah.
Wow. My horse. I had 2 horses. I had the horse from Django, and then I had my day-to-day horse. The Django horse was like a goddamn Porsche. That horse was just like so responsive. I could just tap him with my rear heel, and I didn't have spurs, mind you. Just tap with my rear heel on his belly. He knew to side this way, or he was just so insanely responsive. Wow. My day-to-day horse was not. You had to really just keep tapping his belly, and he's like, all right, I'll run. The other horse would run. Don't you want to keep up, buddy? He's like, nah. Just like just taking his speed. I'm like, fuck, this is so much work.
Yeah. Well, you sounds like you're a bit of a natural on the horses to begin with. Like obviously you love it, and then everything kind of culminates with fucking jockey, which was brilliant. But before we get there, I want to ask you, my brother, I these epic scenes with Ed Harris and you're doing in Westworld, man, just like great work, dude. Like, right. And did you glean anything from him? What was?
It's like he snaps quite a bit, which is part of his charm. And I knew that going in. So I spoke to some friends that had worked with him. So I did my best, and I know what that comes from. So what I did is I started studying all his lines. So I wanted to like, fuck, God damn, what's my line? Sorry, I said the F word, ladies and gentlemen. What's my line? You know, so the script, like, all right, let's go. So I started to memorize his lines because the script wasn't around. And you got to be careful how you do this, especially with any actor, but especially an artist. And I was like, oh, I think you say, and he's like, oh, thanks, kid. Let's go. Got it. So I've slowly winning him over. But the big win for me personally as an actor, and where I became peers and friends, which is just a humbling, beautiful thing. It was a scene when my daughter and my wife gets killed, and my daughter, I'm holding my daughter, and she's now teared. So Ed was there, and he's holding the giant gun to my wife, and he's over there, and I got my daughter, and I'm looking there, and I'm starting to get welled up in the eyes, and he finally shoots her and kills her, and then I grab my daughter, and the tears fall, and all of a sudden the yell cut, and then Ed looks from where he's standing, goes, yes, 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 and he comes marching to me. He's like, yes, yes, and then he kicks my fucking shin with his cowboy boots so fucking hard, my boot went, whoa. And I was like, he goes, that's how you fucking do a thing. He's crack, and he kicks me right in the fucking shin, like boom. And I was like, fuck yeah, I hope that leaves a mark.
That is
finally got my prize for Mr. Harris. That was a beautiful thing. I was so I can't tell you how proud, how happy, how elated, how overjoyed. Like, I cracked it. That's beautiful. I'm so grateful. So I mean, I love him to death. You know, I keep
yeah. It's funny. It's like there's you talk about like this. There's this dynamic, right? And we go into set with someone we don't know, particularly if there's, you know, and no matter how everyone tries to be their best version of themselves, there is this kind of Hollywood exists as this like a little bit like high school, right? It's there's these social dynamics, you know, and as much as I try to always keep my cool, when I effectively me being an actor is just an extension of childhood fandom, you know what I mean? So, you know, early on, I would get in there and I'd try to ingratiate myself with these, you know, what I was doing effectively was glad handing, you know what I mean? Try to ingratiate, because the fan would come out, and then after a while, it occurred to me that's just not serving me. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a time and a place for that. Kind of probably why I like starting this podcast. Like if I were to work with you, you know, maybe I'd come in a little hot, a little overzealous, and then it's like, where's the work inside of all this like appreciation? Hey, you know what I mean? So it's like I learned, and it took me a while to learn. No, put a lid on that shit. Get your respect as an actor. Fucking see, be in the work, be inside the work, let them see you do good work, and then throw the shit out there, because really that's secondary. It can be whatever it wants in your heart, but it's secondary inside of the work, you know? So, it's cool when you have those moments of getting their respect, you know?
Oh, I just lived for that. Same with working with Ari. It's like he had these crazy, mind-boggling ideas and interpretations and perception that's just one insanely inspiring, but it's like taking space Adderall for the first time. It's like,
sounds fun.
Because I'm like working morning, noon, and night. I'm studying just 24/7. I might take a break to listen to a song, and then I'll shut it off and study. So I was working so hard to get ahead of them. And I studied all his shorts. I watched all his films in sequence so I could see his evolution as an artist and a filmmaker, and how it was starting to evolve and change, and all these beautiful things that I was just stealing and clocking and just trying to figure him out, and listen to his Q&As. It was it's just insanely mind-boggling, but I can't even explain the stuff I had to go through with that character. So I would show up, and then Ari would be like, you know, we do like maybe 7 takes of a scene, and then he's like, I like where this is going. What do you think? And I said, what did I think? I had some thoughts. I had some ideas. I wish they were still relevant, Ari. And if they were, I'd say, hey, yeah, I do have some ideas. But now that I've seen what you've come up with, I really don't.
That's great.
I said, my come from this planet. Yours come from out there. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm going to promise. I might not get ahead of you, but I'm going to get to your side.
Yeah.
And it probably happened like the last 3 days. The last 3 days of filming.
Wow,
And I was just stuck in character, like just incredibly stuck in this character. I asked him, I said, what do I do now? You can't leave me like this. We're rapping. I said, look at me. I'm fucking lodged now. How do I get out of this? And he was like, well, unplug you. And I look at him. I'm waiting because I work in therapy. And I'm watching. I'm like, yeah, it's not working.
The cavalry's not coming, right?
Yeah, he was like, I really just didn't want to fuck this up. I know how heavy of a role this was. They talked about writing this character out if they couldn't get me. It was that serious. And I was like, oh my God, like hardcore. Like it'd be an honor to bring this character to life. So that said, everybody respects Ari's process the way every film set should run. And so that said, I didn't find out how many fans I had on set of my past work and the work I was presently doing until I wrapped, because they were respecting Ari's process and they didn't want to take what's happening, which is beautiful. And I love it. So I never got great job and Ari, I managed to get a half smile out of him a couple times. And that for me was like, oh my God, I got a diamond. I got a half smile.
Wow.
And Joaquin was like, just so you know, Clifton, Ari's never happy. I was like, oh shit, well, I can't tell him I got a half smile because he's going to get all jellies on me. But I got to put him happy.
Wow.
So I don't know about you, Phoenix.
Well, speaking of seeking counsel from someone who might be able to instruct you on how to unplug, Joaquin was there, or was he just in his own shit?
He was in his own shit as well, to the point that, God bless, I loved working with him. I had such a blast, and I hadn't hung out with him since we were hanging out on Capote and Walked the Line and Brokeback Mountain, that whole period.
Yep. So
it's been a long while. Yeah, and God bless, I know Joaquin, as soon as they wrapped, he just ran off. And I know where that comes from, because it hurts. It hurts walking away from a main character like what he was playing. It hurts to say goodbye. It hurts to say goodbye to your family you've been with, 17 hours a day, which you don't do in your regular family life.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. It's a very difficult thing. So I felt for him. But me personally, I was like, all right, I just didn't want to fuck up this role. I was like, there's not a world that exists that you could have fucked this up. I was like, what? I was like, you serious? She said, yeah, so I'm done. She said, yeah, you're done. I said, oh my God. And I just literally collapsed on the table and started sobbing for like 10 minutes.
Oh, buddy. Good for you. How cathartic was that, man? Wow.
It was cathartic, but also because he finally gave me my praise, which is I was always like, how was that thing? He's like, it's getting there. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna really crank it this time. Let's go again. All right, let's go again. Do it again. How was that? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna crank it again. I'm gonna watch this one. I'm gonna fuck you up on this one. Let's go again. How was that? He's like, yeah, it's good enough for now. I'm like,
wow.
I don't get him some gold though. I don't get him some gold. It's like, I just don't know what he's gonna do with that gold. Somebody's gonna throw away. Somebody's gonna keep. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, that was my thing with Fuqua. It's like he kind of does that, but you never get the final. Attaboy.
And Ari's dialogue was like Shakespearean jazz.
Yeah,
it was like so off the cuff. You couldn't just. It was like Bukowski on meth. It was like all these crazy. And then he would get. You could get rewrites at 2 a.m, 4 a.m, 6 a.m. of a whole monologue, and you're like, holy shit, I got to memorize all this new stuff. It's not regular English. It's very difficult to memorize. You're just cramming. And then when you get there to do the scene, you could be off on a word or two. And this motherfucker will be like, wait, I think I heard you say that. I'm like, yeah. Well, actually, it's da-da-da-da-da-da. Like he knows all the rewrites he sent you.
Wow.
He knows, not even looking at a paper.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, what's script he doing?
Right.
Famous money there, Ari.
Wow.
I know how you work, Ari.
Wow, man.
That's so,
yeah. That's really. So, are we looking at 2025? Or do you know? I'm sure you can't tell me anything. But
well, it's just like you were saying about staying in work. Like I was telling my mom earlier, she was asking me, about some of the other actors. Like, wow, I don't even know. Like, if I wasn't in the scene, I don't know in the movie if they're in the movie. Haven't checked IMDb. I don't know when it's coming out. I didn't ask. It
Wow.
has nothing to do with my process and performance.
Wow, man.
So, my mom, how's Emma Stone? Like, I don't know. I didn't get to work with her mom. How's Austin? But I don't know. I was in Montreal doing the other show. It's like it
Yeah.
got nothing to do with my performance. Nothing. And I don't have time to hang out with him because all my time was honestly just I was either in the room or in front of the lodge in the dirt, just sitting in the dirt, running lines in the sunshine or in the moonlight until I was sleepy.
Wow, man. That's amazing. That's
Very
extraordinary, dude. Yeah, man. That's wow. I can't wait. You got me super, super excited for that. I want to jump back a little bit because I have a undiagnosed ADHD, but I was doing a little bit of a family, a deep dive into your family history, and you've been very like beautiful in interviews, the way you pay tribute to your grandfather and
Thank you.
Pedro Gonzalez, yes. And it's really nice to hear how much he meant to you. And my question to you is, I know that it sounds like it skipped a generation with your mom, correct? Entertainment.
They did do some stuff. My aunt, my uncle, and my uncle did a couple of John Wayne film. My aunt did like Mod Squad and like the Monkeys and SWAT, and my mom did some stuff. They just didn't want to continue.
Wow, sure. Interesting. Yeah. I can understand that perspective. So but you grew up in LA. So I guess I'm wondering, was it like you have context, and you get that like that admiration for your granddad at an early age with the work that he's doing, but it skips this generation. But it's not like you're a million miles away from Los Angeles in entertainment, you know? Did it seem when when you were finally arrived, high school, college, did it seem like a million miles away, or like, oh yeah, I could just do that thing that Grandpa did, you know?
So that all I was at Loyola High School, which is a college prep school, and you're supposed to go to Ivy League afterward. That's kind of the idea. But I had this moment when I was at Loyola going like, okay, so I'm supposed to do 4 years of college, maybe 6. I'm gonna have a crazy debt. And then I get 2 weeks free for vacation, and I basically sell my life off for an X amount per hour. And I work a 9 to 5. I'm like, and that's the rest of my life. That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I was like, no. So then I started, and I was naturally a class clown. So if I could pop off a joke in class, if I knew it was going to land, I would. It was worth getting Jug. Jug was called that was our detention. Jug stood for Justice Under God. But if I knew a joke was going to land, it was awesome. It's like good crack, and everybody's laughing. Clifton Jug. I said thank you. But when it didn't land, it sucked.
You don't want to bomb the joke.
Now I got to go to Jugs. Jesus. So it was a natural thing. I took both acting and Spanish at Loyola, and I only got a B. But I got into acting right out of high school, and I guess ultimately the joke would be on me because I'm doing Star Trek, and we're doing 19-hour days every day.
Right.
That was the norm, you know.
Yeah.
So I was like, 9
Yeah.
to 5. But you know, you're doing these different things. You're pretending to be different people, and there's a craft, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. You know, it's not just a desk job, right? It's a little different. But yeah, it was never like I didn't. I gave a lot of my money away in my early 20s to like my family essentially.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to keep working. I knew I was going to keep making money. Not a lot, but I was working a lot. So, and I was doing decent work, and I was constantly working to be better and learning to be different and learning to be just what's gonna speak to the audience, and it's gonna be organic and interesting without standing out too much, but just enough to get, you know what I mean? There's all these factors that you try to play with.
It sounds like you had these incredible values. Like, for instance, I mean, I maintain and kind of teach our 8-year-old, from the place of not falling into that eventual trap of thinking that it's not that it's unimportant to choose a career. You know what I mean? Because because so many, I think that mental illness contributes to so many young kids because they show up to life and they're like, fuck, this is it. You know what I mean? But you have this kind of keen awareness of not falling into that trap. Was your grandpa or your mom, did they give you these values? Like, son, don't
Yeah, my grandpa was always giving me values. Not so much mom. I ran away from home when I was 16.
No.
My stepdad kind of helped to create an environment that it was just loveless. There wasn't a lot of love in the house, and I was rarely spoken to. Like I was just a dude that lived there and ate and went to school.
Stuff.
So I ran away. I was like, I can get food on the streets. I got homies that'll take care of me. So, but grandpa, certainly because he grew up incredibly poor in San Antonio, Texas, doing the vaudeville circuit in San Antonio since he was 7 years old, which is why he couldn't read, just like Sammy Davis Jr. And then when he was discovered in the Groucho Marx show, and then he didn't even want to go to Hollywood. He was like, I don't want to be like a Hollywood actor. I want to do theater because I can create my own shows. I'm a showrunner, and I memorize everything I created, and I can improvise. Like he could walk into an unrehearsed show and just kill it and slay.
Wow.
Which is how he was always making his bounds. So he did. And some of his advice was probably dated because it was a different era. He was a contract player for John Wayne, and Wayne Morris just signed. I was like little agents. You're struggling to kind of hop on these, you're like monkey barring from bigger agent to bigger agent to bigger agent. You hope, sometimes you go laterally, and sometimes that fresh blood is good.
Sure.
But now, as today, the agencies are such different. It's just a different business than it was back then. And then Grandpa's was even more different. He was get paid every week whether you worked or not.
Right. I'm sorry. He left us in 2006. Is that right? Or am I getting that?
I want to say that sounds about right. Yeah, 2006, I think February 11th.
So he gets to see you in these, do these really incredible roles. It's incredible character work, man. Did you get that from him? Then, holy shit, it's like that pride from him. Did you receive that?
Yes, without a doubt. And he had the nurses. Bring in a DVD player. They played him Capote in the hospital while he had cancer. So he was. But also, he already seen it. Him and my grandma walked to Sony Studios for a screening with Bennett Miller and Philip Seymour, rest in peace. So I was like, hey, Milo, can you give us a ride home? Was a ride home? He drives? No, we walked. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, we can ride. And then what was really sweet is Bennett Miller and Philip both ran to me, and all they cared about was what did he think.
Wow.
Grandpa Howard Hawks and William Wellman and Mervyn LeRoy and all these, William Wellman, like these gangsters of the era,
Yeah.
So it was so sweet. It was always sweet to know, oh wow, you can't read, and he grew up poor and all this other stuff, but he's been touched and blessed by the greats,
Yeah, man.
So the fact that it still mattered, it was dope to see artists acknowledge artists and lineage and legacy and things like that. That was kind of beautiful.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So to answer your question, my grandpa would be like, he goes, I could leave this planet now knowing that you're going to be okay, because ya se quitó el pendejo, meaning your naiveness, your juvenile, your dumbness, your stupidity's gone. And he goes, and I know you're making it now because you don't call me Collect anymore. That's my prayer.
Dude, that's beautiful, man. And again, it really is beautiful how you pay tribute to him. So I know how much music is important to you. And listen, I feel like I've been screaming to a void for fucking 35 years that Adam Duritz is one of our American poets, right?
For sure, without a doubt.
Right? And I know that he's been a creative collaborator with you. Wow, man.
Yeah, I love Adam. I go to New York, I stay there.
Wow.
Stay.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
he's not in town.
Yeah. Because that's all that I moved to LA in fucking 2000, and it was and my impression of
I wasn't born into it, but I always dreamed of it. It was always, it was my impression of you was always kind of like this quintessential artist. Probably had this really fucking sick vinyl collection, hanging out on Adam Durance's couch. Maybe it was because were you in a video? Were you on his couch, or am I imagining that? No.
What did
Maybe I'm conflating ideas because I know you did freeloaders.
And I'll post. I've posted photos probably when I'm on his couch at his pad or something. Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. But I directed a video for him, and then I was in 4 videos for him. It was supposed to be one, and it kept turning into more like, wow, how many of these am I doing, bro? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I just don't want to do them. I'm like, what? Why did you tell me that earlier? I could have been more thoughtful, and because I want to rock it.
The Cars song.
It wasn't with that.
The Cars cover.
Yo, yeah, that one I did.
It's really beautiful, man. It's really, really fucking beautiful. Yeah, and you got this really beautiful eye, man. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I shot that with my Sony EX3. He was like, that was a really special one, and Adam had recorded that and wrote it, covered it in a day. Like he went through this kind of like this nasty breakup, so he was Valentine's Day was coming up, and he just started to play these songs, and he would learn it in a day, and then he'd record it in 2 hours, and he'd go to sleep and wake up and do it again. He'd sleep 2 hours a night. Yeah. So he was like, dude, why don't you just stay at my pad and you could direct a music video for me, and you could do your TV show, and this place is huge. You won't even know I'm here. I'm like, great. So I'm gonna FedEx my camera. He's like, all right. And I had this idea. I had the idea with the roses a long time, and I've never been able to incorporate it into a video because I just love the idea of red and rose petals and love. They're just synonymous. So, and just there's something about rose petals that are always romantic, whether they're falling from the sky or floating in your pool or if they're just in your bed,
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And when I heard that song, it's such a, you re-listen to the Cars version. It's a beautiful, upbeat, happy, fun song. When I heard Adam's version, just the fact that he slowed it down the way he did added an entire new character to the whole song. And I'm listening to it, heartbreaking. Like when you slow it down, I was so lucky to find that kid that was like the young Adam Duritz with his little dreadlocks.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And the mom was like, he's a little shy. It might take a little while to break him. I'm like, I'm pretty good with kids. Like within 10 minutes, he's like, we're like BFFs. Yeah. So he was skipping around and hopping. He was having a blast. Like, why don't we do another video? I'm like, I don't know. But yeah. But this is it. This is kind of it. So yeah. So it's a very I'm very fond. I had that one shot with the swing and the incense and that rose petal floats in, it rolls in and it kind of collapses.
Yeah.
Adam was asleep. It was like 9:30, 10 in the morning. My car was downstairs ready to take me to the airport. I'm like, I need to get this shot. So I'm literally setting my EX3. I set it to slow-mo. I think I set it to 60 FPS, if I'm not mistaken. I put it on the fly, watched the framing. I lit all the candles. I had a friggin' fan with a long extension cord. I had all these rose petals because every week I was buying roses because we would shoot on Sundays. That was my only day off. And just Adam and I. And so Adam's asleep. Car's downstairs. They keep calling out, I'll be right down. It's like, gotta get this shot. And then I'd hit the play. I'd push the swing. I'd light everything, the candles, the incense, this, and the swing's going. And then I'm running with the fan off camera on the side. And that's how you see the roses.
Wow.
And with one petal perfectly comes in and goes plop, plop, plop.
Wow, dude.
I'm looking like, dude, I did that by myself.
Yeah, man. Yeah. In your element.
I love that video.
Yeah.
I love that video.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, dude, I know he has some, I'm so stoked that he has new music coming out, It's funny.
I was the catalyst to break him of his writing block.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. And I have the actual footage because I had the first generation of DJI drones. So I've got Adam in his loft going, oh my God, what is that? Clifton, what is that? Like, and I wasn't very good at it. I'm like, and you couldn't control the GoPro. It just hung there, and you wherever the drone went, that's where the GoPro was. So he's like, oh my God. And I got it to go down. So I've got GoPros running Emmys there and Adam, and I was going to do the blacklist. And I'm sitting, I was staying at, they got me a place at Trump Tower. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then And then I'm sitting there, and then Emmy and him start riffing and doing stuff. I'm like, all right, guys, well, I'm gonna head back. You can't leave. I'm like, what do you mean? I gotta film, dude. It's yeah, dude, just grab your shit and come back here. I'm like, they're paint burying it. Trump down. Like, dude. And then Annie's like, don't you see what happened? I'm like, what? He goes, he just broke his writer's block. You're good luck, guys. I'm like, oh fuck. Let me go get my shit. I know what it means to break a writer's block as a writer, an actor, a poet, a singer, this and that. Like anytime a creative breaks a writer's block and they're pointing to you saying you're the cause of it, cool, let me get my shit. Your family, I'm coming back.
So yeah, man.
The whole time. And that was the beginning. I have the actual moment with them telling me all of this other stuff and then him riffing it. And he goes, and I see Adam just like coming to like the Adam Duritz coming to life. It was so cool. He's like, all right, guys, hold on, I'll be right back. And he goes to his little man cave, the bookshelves closes, and he's writing. He comes back 15 minutes later. All right, here's Emmy. I'm just watching. I'm like, oh shit. It's been 12 years, I think.
Bro, yeah. I mean, well, he did the butter, yeah. But yeah, here's the thing, and that's what he does. We'll graduate from Adam, but that's what he does with these songs. What he did with the car song, he also did it with Thunder Road, right? With Springsteen's Thunder Road. He just slows it down and makes it this new song where you can never go back. But we're getting close, and I appreciate your time. Since music is so I know how much music drives you and how important it is to you. I have to ask, do you create playlists for your characters?
I like to. I definitely do. It's not like my MO. I have with everything, including in my prep, I have to be inspired. Like it's like, this song kind of reminds me of my character. Like I listened to a lot of Rodriguez when I was doing Ari's film because he's like really a poet for the people, musical poet for the people. And there's a few songs that just literally spoke to my character's soul, in my opinion. So I would have it on a loop. You know, when I was doing Capote, I was listening to a lot of Hank Williams Sr. Wow. Because in the book, when I read in Cold Blood, there's 3 songs that allegedly that Perry Smith sang. So I was like, whoa, why would Capote write those songs into his book? 1, 2, are they really Perry Smith songs? 3, if they are Perry Smith songs, why did Perry sing those songs? So I looked up those songs. I found 1 was written by Patsy Cline and 2 are written by Hank Williams. And then I listened to the songs. And then I listened to Hank's music, and he spoke so much to who Perry Smith was. And then I watched the documentary on Hank Williams, and they had very similar lives.
Wow.
Very similar lives. It was very scary. So in that respect, I would have a loop of certain songs from Hank Williams that for this character, the Easy Rider soundtrack and Rodriguez. To the music I listened to quite a bit when I was doing Artistry. But not everyone. Like the one I did in Montreal, I just finished the Apple project. I wish I could have had a soundtrack, but the character just didn't really have. Arc. Like, you didn't have a whole backstory that you can sink your teeth into, so to speak.
I kind of find it like if there's a particular song or a couple songs that kind of invoke the emotion, but also thematically speak to. I was doing this movie about where there's tumultuous shit going on with me and my son. And then I've discovered, I was just listening to try to find the song, and then The Only Living Boy in New York, Paul Simon, maybe it's Simon and Garfunkel, which kind of reminds me of this boy that's kind of coming of age. I actually think they made a movie about it as well, but and kind of leaving the nest, and it just makes me so fucking sad. I can't listen to it. So I just listen to it when I'm going into a scene, just have my pods and listen to it like over and over again, man. And also, if the director, by the way, I have to tell you that I loved your work in Honey Boy.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, just this kind of like sweet guy that's trying to do right. I think Alma Harrell's. I think people are about to figure out how fucking unbelievable she is, but she's a fucking force, isn't she?
I don't even know if she really knew who I was. Honestly, yeah,
really?
I couldn't get through the casting on that one for some reason. I tried. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to text Shia. I was like, yo, Shia, you're doing your life story. And I knew we had quite a few heart-to-hearts from the other film that we'd done. Man Down, Tito Montiel's film with Gary Oldman, which is a real special one. So I knew a lot of his trauma. We shared a lot of stories. And so I thought this would be an important film to be a part of, and it's an Indian. I love indies. So I texted him. I said, dude, I'd love to know if I could do this. Dude, your text game is strong. Fuck yeah, I'd love to have you in my film. Thank you, brother. And then he reached out to me, and then I did my own research. Of course, they had this old Ford F-150 in it. And the way they wrote it, they really didn't know a whole lot about the Ford truck. So I did a little history search in the beginnings of the Ford, that particular truck and how it evolved, and the style of lights and tail lights and the turn signals and stuff that I could talk about with the kid. So I was able to elaborate the scene a little bit, fan it out. And Shia was just like, see, I told you he was going to show up with shit. I told you he was going to bring shit. Meaning like all the stuff that I had about the Ford, and this and that. So it was really special. And I like to tell this one story that kind of means a lot to me. And that's when I'm with the young Shia, and then Shia's playing his dad, and he was just, I think, getting into his lines. And I had a moment when I was talking to the kid, just in between takes, and then I saw Shia look over. He was coming over, and he heard me talking to the kid, and he was just like,
"Oh man!"
He had to walk away, and I knew I triggered something. And he came back and said, "I'm so sorry. Dude, I saw my mentor in you. Like I saw you become him." And which is the biggest blessing you can get, the biggest praise you can get, and the fact that it touched him so. And this was a mentor who died of brain cancer. And so he's like, why does this guy care about me so much? Why is he trying to help me? Is he a pedo? Is he a freak? Is he a weirdo? And when the guy was not there, he went into his computer, left it open, and he checked his search history. And he said, man, that motherfucker was true blue, man. That motherfucker just cared about me. It was the real deal.
Yeah.
Like one of the only male positive role models in his life, he said.
Yeah, man. Well, the essence of that comes through in that movie. It's really beautiful.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. You talk about mentorship, and I know how important it is, particularly being like the recipient of such great mentorship. I've also heard you talk about Dennis Hopper. Was he a bit of a mentor, or just kind of like a friend to you?
Both. Because he's the great Dennis Hopper. So any chance you get to pick his brain. This guy had 3 full-blown careers. Like Dennis, you've been blacklisted twice. Also, I've got pictures of him and my grandpa in a bar in Tijuana in the 60s or the late 50s. They were both contract players under John Wayne's company, Fat Jack Production. So it was Dennis Hopper, James Dean, Nick Adams, Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. It was a handful of them. So my grandpa had a lot of stories about him. But also with Dennis, my grandpa passed, and I became friends when I did this Paul Schrader film in 91, and then he found out who my grandpa was, so it was just instant. Uncle Dennis. So I spent time up in Taos with him, and I'm close to Robbie Romero, his godson. And I just loved picking his brain, and anytime I could hang out when he was the head of Cine Vegas. It was fun going to the festivals, and he was running it. And so he honestly just felt like when you've got that legacy and you've got like kin through generations of it, it's just like, I know when people come up to me, there was somebody who was working on Ari's film that did Transpo. He was Jody. He comes up and goes, Clifton, big old cowboy, big old brush. I look at him, I'm like, hi. He goes, remember me? I said, no, remind me. I said 187. Instant family. That's all I had to hear. 187 gave him a big old hug. Instant family. It's like, you know what I mean? So when you have, Jeffrey Lewis was really good friends with my grandpa. They did quite a few films together, and Jeffrey did some work for me in an indie, and I'm friends with Juliette Lewis. So it's all just a family affair. You can count most people so that's how Dennis was for me. And then also, once my grandpa passed, I ended up spending a little bit more time with Dennis. I was at his star ceremony and all this other stuff. So he would go out of his way to make sure that my grandpa was mentioned, or I'm really glad they talked about him. That was important to me, he'd say, and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Wow. What do you? Sorry, you probably can't speak to this, but because I'm, if it's Dennis or Jack or Bruce Dern, who's been a mentor to me. What do you think made a guy like Dennis Hopper tick artistically?
I mean, he was the epitome of an artist. I mean, he constantly broke the rules for better or worse. art is not to be loved by everyone. It's art. It's going to offend a bunch of people. Some people are going to be inspired, some are going to grow, some are going to change, and some are going to hate it. It's art, so they're supposed to hate it. You know what I mean? So Dennis, again, Dennis had, when I asked, how did you do that, Dennis? And like, you got blacklisted on this, you got blacklisted on that, the American movie. And then he goes, after Dean died, it's like, he's like, they said I was difficult to work with. I was like, oh no. I was like, were you? He goes, yeah. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I like to do my own blocking. And Monty Montgomery Clift, he'd say Monty and James Dean, they all like to do, and Brando like to do their own blocking. I said, so what was the problem? Well, the problem is I'm not Brando, Dean, or Clift.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was like, but you're Robert. Like, yeah, it wasn't working. And then I'd heard the stories. I wanted just to validate them. And I heard the stories about Easy Rider, so I wanted to validate them. Like the story about his dad dropping acid and going up the mountain, telling each other how brilliant they are. You're brilliant. No, you're brilliant. No, you're brilliant. You're brilliant. To get naked, run up a mountain on acid. I was like, I had to just validate all these like urban legends. So it is true.
Brother, what about that scene, guys, in fucking Easy Rider when they're all high and Jack Nicholson takes the head of the joint and he starts talking about the Venusians and he cracks himself up in that organic. I mean, that's like, to me, the most purest 10 seconds of cinema in the history of movie, because it's all
There's the campfire.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because if you really study that scene, I did, and this is why I'm speaking to it, because I was very curious myself, because he's got this whole speech about freedom and what it means and how the establishment doesn't want you to really be free, and they're afraid of that. They're afraid of individuals being empowered by freedom.
Right.
Jack's sitting there telling all the stories about it by the fire. But so when you listen to it, it feels like Jack's the only one that's sticking to the script, more or less. And it feels like Dennis is too high to give a fuck. Okay. And then Peter's kind of just taking the back seat a little bit. So I watched that scene a few times. I stole just the dialogue, which I love it so much, but I couldn't stop laughing seeing Dennis, because you could tell that Jack's got a mouthful of words to say. That does not. He might have had it. They all wrote, but who the hell knows?
Yeah, man. Well, dude, I think that. Were you good, Brenda? Were you about to say something?
No, that was a special scene.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end it, man. I really want to thank you, dude. You've I know that you're a Gemini. My birthday was today, dude, and I can't think of a better way to spend an hour to hang out with someone who, one of my creative heroes and someone I study, man. I really appreciate it, dude.
I appreciate that, but that makes me feel better too. Yeah, my birthday was on Father's Day, so it was a little rough. I just spent it working and digging holes and fixing wood and hammering and sawing. It was good.
Well, maybe you can adopt another day next week and try the birthday day over again.
I might do that. I do that.
Yeah. But thank you for being with us, my brother. I really
appreciate it.
Tell everybody I'll see you guys soon, hopefully.
All right, bud. Bye.